And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's 240 days since October the 7th, 2023. The ominous day in which Israel was brutally and viciously attacked by Hamas. 200 plus hostages were taken, over 1,200 people killed, raped, murdered. Brutal day in Israeli and Jewish history, and in world history, and human history. And yet here we are, June 3rd, 2024, and the focus remains once again on the bad people called Israelis. Hi everybody, I'm David Solomon. I'm flying solo today. Stuart is out on assignment. I'm going to be diving into this raw, unfiltered issue again. This is the news that just doesn't seem to go away. It's all about our social structure, culture today, the politics and beyond that has literally marred and completely messed up our minds over the last 8 months. This absurdity and deep-seated issue just doesn't go away. And it's only getting worse, and the responses are getting absolutely absurd. So today I'm going to take a little bit of a stab in my 15 minutes here at really, well, I'm going to question a lot of what people are challenging today about Israel and Jews and what have you on a global scale. So where am I starting? Where to start? You know, it was interesting because October 7th, 2023, Israel was attacked. It was the worst, as I said. Israel did not retaliate for weeks, but rockets were fired from within Gaza. People were killed. I said people were kidnapped. People were raped, burnt, you name it. The most horrific crimes you can possibly imagine. The United Nations did nothing to condemn these actions. In fact, they questioned and had to research Israel's claim of all this. It took months to confirm that Israel had rape victims. I mean, UN Women, still waiting to hear from you 8 months later. Do you hear those crickets? Yeah, that's you. How about the children, the poor children, including babies, kidnapped? Where are you, UNICEF? Crickets. And the hostages that you're supposed to be checking up on, and you're supposed to be making sure that they're safe. Where are you, the Red Cross? Oh yeah, crickets. But yet it's Israel that's constantly under scrutiny. We've talked about this numerous times. The famous hospital incident towards the beginning, that Israel was accused of killing 500 people in a bomb that wasn't even Israel's, and it wasn't 500 people, and it wasn't even the hospital. But governments and media, and of course the agitators on campus did the same thing. They blame, and when the reality is set in and when there's an investigation, we just ignore it, move on to the next allegation. And that continues to this day. It continues to this day. Even last week, even the last couple of weeks in Rafah, when Israel was accused of killing dozens of Palestinians, it turned out it wasn't an Israeli attack. Again last week, and again. Governments and media are quick to point the finger at Israel, unwilling to do the proper investigation. And when the investigation proves otherwise, they wait for the next allegation. It just doesn't end. Facts and truth just don't matter in this situation. So it doesn't matter that these agitators, who are all over the world right now, they tried to firebomb an Israeli embassy in Mexico City. In Greece, they tried again. But this time the government reacted. 9 foreign-born agitators are going to be thrown out. Because there's this belief that they can do whatever they want, however they want. But I just don't understand. I do, but I'm being facetious. Why the Palestinians? Why this population of about 2 million are so important when Israel's trying to defend herself? But when these Palestinians were killed in Syria, they were ignored. When hundreds of millions of women are under the scrutiny of hate, under the scrutiny of they have no rights. I mean, there are dozens of countries around the world that do not give a woman a right. She can be beaten and raped by a man, by her husband. Crickets. Crickets. This is hundreds of millions of women. And here in this shady world of terrorism, we're not only doubling down, we're tripling down, we're quadrupling down. It doesn't matter that they put up signs like from the river to the sea, death to Jews, kill the hostages now. It doesn't matter that they burn Israeli flags, American flags, British flags, Canadian flags. It doesn't matter. Crickets. Nothing happens. They can get away with it. And a huge thanks to politicians, the mayor of Montreal, the mayor of Toronto, other mayors across the United States who stand by as these agitators sit on campus and they don't want to remove them. They're okay. They've legitimized this entire protest. There is no sense. The lies are extraordinary. In one campus here in Canada, the protesters who removed their encampment are claiming this extraordinary victory, which is lies, fiction. Nothing. They haven't won a single thing. And yet the university won't say otherwise. They'll let them. Facts don't matter. Again, what is this all about? The theme across the board. The anti-Semitism. The hate towards Jews. And yesterday I sat down with some friends and we were talking about it. Why? How did this happen? In a world that was pushing wokeism, which I know some of our listeners hate the term, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it turns out that once again Jews were on the wrong side of even that discussion. In the 1930s, Jews were a minority. We were considered a lesser than minority, not just by Germany, but even in the United States. In Canada, the racism was unbelievable. Jews were not permitted to have their own schools. They were not permitted to, not permitted to join in certain schools. Jews were not allowed to practice medicine in hospitals. And as I said in previous rants, they built their own, they did for themselves. They didn't wait. They got involved. They built media houses. They got involved in entertainment. They got involved in sports. They got involved in business. They got involved wherever they could. They were, Jews, wherever they went, wanted to contribute positively in society, economically, not with noise, not with protests, not with yelling and screaming at government, on their own. And today, we're called white supremacists. Today, we're on the wrong side of this argument. Jews are colonialists, which I've yet to understand. If I'm a colonizer here in Canada, what about the rest of you? What about the rest of you who are living on indigenous lands? Just to make a declaration that you're living on indigenous lands? Whoop-de-doo. But you're telling Israel, get out, leave. Come on. But my favorite argument that I find absolutely absurd is give the Palestinians a state, no negotiation, don't worry about the hostages that are still sitting there. You need a ceasefire and you need to immediately give a Palestinian independent state. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand that argument? All these other arguments that I brought up time and time again, it doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't matter that you're fighting for the wrong side. It doesn't matter that these terrorists want to see you dead. It doesn't matter that these Arabs don't care about you. You're called useful idiots by Hamas. The Iranians are looking at you like this wonderful group of recruitments. But this notion of a Palestinian state, let's understand. Let's dig into one area of it, not the whole thing, because it's complicated. But one thing. Your people, your citizens, right? If it's in fact the idea of giving them a state is to make the citizens' lives better, well, I got two problems with that. Israel tried that in 2005. That's right. In 2005, Israel withdrew unilaterally. Yes, there were pressure from the world. Israel pulled out. A hardcore right-wing government, as I said in the past, Ariel Sharon was the prime minister at the time, unilaterally pulled everybody out, left a whole infrastructure there. There was an opportunity for Gaza to become something incredible, flourish. Hamas went in, took over, took all the money that the governments from around the world sent in, built terror tunnels, bought missiles, deprived their own people, put them in camps, made them suffer, denied them their basic human rights, their basic human living rights, and educated them to hate Israel because it was all Israel's fault. What else did they know? And started numerous wars with Israel. Israel's fault. So who's going to rule? Hamas, that's already proven for almost 20 years that they don't want to, they can't, they're unwilling to, or they just want to destroy Israel as part of their charter, which again, these protesters continue to ignore. But let's go one step further. Before October 7th, Israel had provided electricity, water, employment. Yes, employment. Over 100,000 Palestinians used to cross into Israel every day to go to work to make a living. Some of those were those terrorists who actually killed the peaceniks, those people living on the border by Gaza on October the 7th, but we won't go there. Imagine food, water, electricity, jobs were provided by Israel. Now, if you create a Palestinian state, Israel has no obligation. That's right, Israel doesn't have to provide you with water, electricity, jobs, zero. Where is it going to come from? If Hamas destroyed all the infrastructure, where's it going to come from? Now, I know how the world is going to react. Israel must continue to provide it. It's part of the peace agreement. No. You wouldn't accept that from your child, but you want Israel to do it with Palestinians. So let me understand correctly that no matter what happens, Israel must continue to play the role of responsible, even in an independent Palestinian state? No way. If you just can't continue to have your cake and eat it too. You can't continue like this. If Quebec was to secede from Canada, what's Canada's responsibility to Quebec? To continue to provide them a passport? To provide them airspace? To provide them water and electricity? No, it has to be agreed upon. New negotiations, new agreements, everything has to be started from the beginning. That's the way it was in Europe when countries seceded. When the Czech Republic and Slovakia split up, they had to negotiate the new infrastructure agreements. Same thing in other countries in the former Yugoslavia. Everywhere you go, you've got to negotiate from scratch. But not here. The world says, nope, no negotiation. We dictate the rules, and whatever the Palestinians want, they get. See, folks, that's where the absurdity lies. Not happening. Israel will not give in just for the sake of giving them a Palestinian state. We've seen the result of giving them their own territory. They turn it into a terror tunnel. They turn it into a terrorist state. So why continue to do that? Why continue to support that? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Death to Jews seems to be the way it works with these countries, with the media. Jews must perish. Jews must pay. Jews must be eliminated. Continue to do that, folks. Continue to bring in the immigration that you desire. Continue to pass the policies that you believe is right and will make you happy and satisfy your population, the votes that you think you're going to get. But at the end, Israel's not going to agree to this. Israel's not going to be forced into some ceasefire because Qatar wants it or the United States thinks Israel wants it. Israel will hold out until they get their hostages back, until security is reaffirmed, and Hamas is eliminated as a terror organization. Drop your arms, negotiate in good faith. Whoa, look what happens. But instead, Hamas will not change its charter. It will not change its stripes. It will continue to act this way, propped up by Iran and propped up by all the countries who continue to encourage them. So when you see today a protester with a kill Jews shirt, when you see people protesting and saying death to Jews, these so-called anti-Israel agitators, when you see these people demanding a Palestinian state from the river to the sea, when you hear these things, think carefully. You want to reward terrorism? You want to reward hate? Do it somewhere else, please. Go find another country, another territory. In fact, give up from your own country. If you want to give the Palestinians a state, put it somewhere in, northern Canada. Put it somewhere in France or in England. Go ahead. Bring them in. Let them live there. Go ahead. Bring more in. And then tell me how life is. Explain to me why life, wherever we see this immigration, life gets worse. Crime goes up. Unemployment is through the roof. If you want to give them a state, give them out of your country. Don't make Israel suffer any more than she has to. Because thanks to you, Israel has suffered enough. So before you go and dictate to Israel what to do, think about you moving them into your territory, where they demand you just provide and they do nothing. You imagine how you would feel where they're saying, no, we're not providing security. Crime could be whatever it is. We could do whatever we want. You got to take care of us. Let's see how you enjoy it. Let's see how you make of it. So stop dictating to Israel what to do, world. It's time for you to back down. Israel must continue to survive. That is a reality. No one has a right to tell the Jewish state, the only Jewish state, that it doesn't have a right to exist. Those that believe that shouldn't exist. So if you want to give a Palestinians a state and you think it should be out of Israel, without security, without negotiation, the answer is no. Give it from your territory and be gone. Thanks for tuning in today's rant, folks. Hope you found something in today's dialogue. I'll be back again on Wednesday with Stuart and again on Friday. We broadcast every noon Eastern. It's live, unedited, uncensored. So check us out on social media. Share your perspectives. We genuinely appreciate your feedback, despite the fact that some of it hasn't been exactly on, agreeing with us. That's okay. And until next time.